Good, rustic, authentic podcast. Yeah.
Yes. Damn.
Damn.
Playing hard, playing tough, just plain good. It's not good enough. We're gonna show you what league's all about. If there's a lesson to be learned, we're handing it out. This game is our game. This town is our town. Turn the heat up and listen to the crowd.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Nagy. I'm here as always with my co-host Liam McNeil. Liam, how are you tonight?
Nagy, I feel a lot better than you sound. You're quite ill, aren't you, Nagy?
I know you'll have to forgive my voice, Jousters. It's just a little bit on the croak side.
It's the change in seasons that got you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the wind,
From
I think.
footy to cricket.
That's it. That's the one
It's
that
the great Chris Franklin saying.
It just caught me a bit late. But yeah, no, not feeling too great. And also, it's probably reflective of the season that the Knights are currently in. Just in a bit of a lull, bit of a sickness.
It's a metaphorical illness.
Yeah, I live them when they're not doing well.
The team is coursing through your veins.
I was clinically dead in 2016.
There's been a lot of reviving.
There was a lot of reviving. But Liam, I have to ask you, we're obviously both at the game on Friday night, back at the graveyard shift on 6 p.m. 6 p.m. only managing 14,500, about that.
Thereabouts, which I still think is a pretty good crowd given the subarctic conditions it was in.
It definitely dropped off then, yeah. It was
I did find it funny when they mentioned that it's 14 degrees.
14,
Didn't feel like it.
It felt much colder.
It did.
But yeah, 14 degrees, very cold. It was a very cold night with not many people there. But not many people for a Knights game. So, but you could definitely feel it. There was there's something missing. But what was missing for you, Liam? What went wrong for you?
Oh, look, Nagy, obviously a lot went wrong in a game that you lose 29 points to 18, where you feel like you're in it for most of the game. A fair bit went wrong. Now, as usual, our stats this week brought to us by Josh Spiegelman, the... Thank you again, Hammer, for all the stats this week. So, a few things went wrong. First of all, our line speed. Now, that's been something we've had an issue with all season. It seemed to work against certain teams, but against the big, hard-running forwards of Penrith, it just didn't work out too well. With the RCG try, Tyrone Peachy try, we were caught just sitting back on the line, waiting for them to come, and they just sniffed out that line there. The ruck. Now, this may have been by design by the Penrith team, and maybe the refereeing had something to do with it, but we were just too slow at the ruck. We were averaging a 3.7 second play the ball speed.
Is that slow?
That's quite slow. Penrith, in fact, averaged 3.4.
Yeah.
But you could really see it. The Knights just weren't moving up the field as quickly or as easily as Penrith, who seemed to have a much quicker, cleaner ruck, which kind of, to me, implies that we got the rough end of following the rules, Nagy.
It definitely seemed like the rules were implied to us a little bit more firmer.
More stringently.
Yeah, than it was to Penrith. A lot was said about the referee right after the game.
None of which we can repeat on this family show.
No, but it was, the referee definitely seemed like, it seemed like Penrith had a lot more time in the ruck. Now, could you say maybe they were just controlling the ruck better than us? You look at players that control the ruck rather well for us, and I always think Aiden Guerra controls the ruck rather well. Just peels off, usually right on the money, manages to get his body off them, but obviously hover above them, and I think they're doing a bit of that too. So you can't actually be free to play the ball, but you still feel like you're tackled into. Anyway, it's just playing into their hands. They do the peel off well, which they're trying to rule out of the game, but it's just one of those things. I think Penrith just outplayed us in the ruck, but it was definitely the times that. If you looked at all the penalties that we were against us for either laying around in the ruck or being offside, and then you looked at obviously there was some very well shared footage of Penrith being very offside,
the very same infringement that we were penalised for.
Yeah, and then so it didn't swing both ways, and you think you'd get those 50-50s at home. If anything, you'd get a bit of favourability.
You'd hope so, but it wasn't the case. But there was more going wrong in this game than met the eyes. Our completion rate dropped below 80%. We're down to 79%. Now, we've actually completed quite well this season. I think we're in the top 2 or 3 for average completion rate across the season. But dropping below 80%, you really can't be expected to win a game if you're letting the ball go so much. And as a result, we were below 50% of possession. And the line speed that we mentioned earlier, now, it led to Penrith running for 1,508 metres to our 1,279, 548 metres of Penrith's run meter total was post-contact to our 418. So that points to our forwards not generating enough leg drive, not getting through the line to generate that quick ball. It just seems like our forwards need a bit more grunt, bit more go forward when they hit the tackle. I understand, you've got to fight to the ground, find your belly, get up, quick play the ball. But when a team's slowing the ruck down like that, you just throw the gloves off and say, to heck with it. I'm going to bend the line. I'm going to fight to the ground, and I'm going to get more meters through the line there.
Where'd it go right for you, Liam? Obviously, we did score. It was 3 tries to 4 in the end with a couple of cheeky penalties and a field goal to Penrith there, stretching out the margin a bit more. But 3 tries to 4. What went right?
A few things did still go right. It was a bludger of a game to watch, but there were still some promising signs. Our attack, I thought, was actually pretty good. When we did have the ball, we looked dangerous. Obviously, there was a few errors in the game that blunted the attack. You saw the Watson pass to ground. There was another one from someone else. I don't remember. I tried to block most of it. I just watched it again today, and I really wish I hadn't. It brought me down.
We were definitely chancing our arm more in attack, and we looked good. 5 line breaks to their 2, I believe. I thought we were the better team with the ball when we held on to it, completed our sets. We showed a bit of lack of patience when we got down their end. I think we went for a bit of a Hail Mary a couple of times, but we went for some interesting passes down that right edge with Lockie Fitz, and that's where Colin Watson was around. And we're causing mischief, we're causing trouble. We're doing those half breaks, and we're probably getting, sometimes 3 out of the 4 necessary passes for that try line. And it was exciting to watch. It's so frustrating to see, but do people rather see that and see us chancing our arm as a young side, or would they prefer us working one up, spreading it wide, going for a kick? Those kinds of plays, when they happen over and over again, I think we've been guilty of in previous years. And now we got a little bit more strike power and a little bit more confidence. I'm sort of glad we went for those, but obviously we didn't come up with the chockies on the day.
I'm glad you said chancing our arm, because it does seem to be something that Nathan Brown had shied away from in the game plan earlier in the season, bringing young players through. But we actually topped the offload count, 10-8, which is a rare feat. That's a rare feat for the Knights, but it shows that we're starting. And the Mitch Barnett, remarkable offload, out of nowhere, in the midst of 15 Penrith players. He popped it up to CO, offload then to Nathan Ross, favourite of the show, dear fan, for a beautiful try. So we're starting to chance our arm a bit more. We're starting to throw the footy around, and we just need to remember that these are young players, a new side still gelling. We're still finding new combinations 10 rounds in, and we need to give them chance for the passes to stick. Now that we're starting to throw the ball around a bit more, sort of have a bit more fun, let the boys have a bit of fun.
It's one of those ones, you always be very polar in when there's a half break made and it's the 3rd or 4th tackle, because you're running down, you're in their in goal, you're in their half. You got they make a brilliant cover tackle. You have the player with the ball free. He's looking up. He's going to throw it, and you get half the crowd saying, "Give it," and the other half going, "Hold it." And there isn't a correct answer until the results happen, because anyone that said hold it and he throws it and it lands clean in the hands, we score a try. They all just, I'm not going to say that again, but it's but you remember it if you're right. You're like, oh, you should have just done that. But it's obviously those moments in front of it.
Now, Nagy, a slight aside there. You mentioned that in the crowd you have some judges saying, half of them saying throw it, half of them saying don't throw it. Yeah. Did you notice on the field that KFC are advertising the viewer verdict? I believe it is when a try goes to the bunker, the viewers get to vote on whether or not is a try. Do you think that's the dumbest thing you've ever heard of in your life?
Obviously you're going to have anyone who's watching that's supporting that team, they're just going to say yes. You're never going to have just like this sort of well-agreed bipartisan, that's the word, isn't
bipartisan.
It?
Funnily enough, that's our word of the week. Bipartisan.
For all you playing at home. So bipartisan, you're never going to have that across the board. So you're always going to have it like whoever's got more supporters watching is going to vote. Yeah, obviously a try, but and it definitely undermines that referee.
Doesn't it just?
Because then you're just always going to have like, oh, well, if 87% of people think watching at home, then also does that influence the video referee? Like, of course, he's surrounded by monitors. Does he not have a live stream to the game going?
And not only that, but the video referee, I assume, I don't know about, whether or not this is true, but I assume that the video referee has read the rule book at least one time. Something I'm sure most NRL fans haven't, myself included.
He skimmed through it.
I haven't even skimmed, so he's already better than me. He's already got more knowledge than me. So does the average NRL fan like myself, who's generally a one-eyed supporter, hasn't actually read the rule book. half the time I don't even know the rules. Who am I to judge whether a try or not is to be awarded?
Yeah.
Do I, deserve that power?
Yeah, that's right. Golf has 42 pages of rules.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how big the pages are. It might have been on a smaller
They could just
manual.
be post-it notes.
Yeah, they could.
A couple of post-it notes up on the... If there's any golfers in the... what do we have? Audience. If there's any golfers in the audience who've got a copy of the rule book, you fax it through to Karen.
Karen will pick it up.
And then we'll have a read next week. But there was more that went right in this game. Funnily enough, even though we conceded 4 tries, I believe, our defence was actually quite good. Now, we tackled at a 90.3% effectiveness rate to Penrith's 85.2. Great example. Nathan Ross out on the fringes made 20 tackles with no misses. But again, when you're making those tackles right on your line, there was, I think, 3 effective tacklers on Tyrone Peachey, still gets the ball down. There was 3 effective tacklers on Campbell Gillard, still got the ball down. We made our tackles, but you need to be moving up and making them off the line.
Yeah, we've been guilty too much this season of conceding that try from the big rangy prop. And we obviously got to put a stop to that, and maybe it is working out who that is that they're going to be using as that battering ram and really just going up and jamming him. But it's easier said than done, because as soon as you start doing that, you come up, you bend the line, come up, and then someone comes in behind you and you think, why'd you rush up on him? Which we're so critical of with our fringe back rowers and centres. So it's you just got to play what's in front of you, and hopefully try to do it to them before they do it to us. But they did it to us, and we were down 12-0 very quick, smart.
It's a damn shame. Also, on the edges, I do think the edges have definitely improved, especially the edge of Lockie Fitzgibbon, 4 tackle busts, a line break to him personally, and that edge looked pretty handsome. Yeah, in attack.
James Maloney always had good games against us since he played for the Roosters. Obviously, he towed us up in the Roosters in that final in 2013. He put 60 plus points in us when he was playing for Cronulla, and just because he's at Panthers, he must come to that trip to Newcastle and just think, this is going to be a good warm-up, a good stretch of the shoulders.
He's having good games against everyone this season. He's got to be I'm calling it right here. He'll be the first one picked from New South Wales Origin. I think he'll get man of the series.
That's a big call.
Feeling it. I feel like James Maloney is going to have a career-defining Origin series, and he will win man of the series. You heard it here first.
What's that? The man of the series Glockenspiel?
That's man of the series. It's man of the series Glocken.
Man of the Spiel.
The Glockenspiel.
Yeah. Forcing it.
But Nagy, I notice you're not wearing a hat. So it's going to be hard to give hats off, Nagy. Who have you got?
Hats off this week goes to Barney Rubble, the big troublesome man himself. He that offload that was right at the end of the game. I know when it was probably a bridge too far by that point, but going down the fringe, backing himself, holding the ball with 2 hands, throwing those offloads. That was the Barney that I think we remembered.
The Barney we know and love.
Yeah, Barney's back, if you will, with that massive tramp stamp of a tattoo that he has every time his jersey flicks up. But it looked like he's finding, ever since he had that week off for concussion, he's really finding his feet again. And I think hopefully with that accompanying Aiden Guerra and the impact that he's having on the side, on top of Lockie Fitz, what a back row.
It's a phenomenal back row, and I'm glad you mentioned Aiden Guerra. He gets my hats off. This week he ran for 115 metres. There was 55 post-contact metres in there, 2 tackle busts and 43 tackles. So he's really... Was he captain?
Was he? Yeah, that's a good question.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
But he's leading by example. He's not doing too many flashy things. He throws the odd bit of flash in there, but not too many flashy things, but just doing good, hard, honest, toiling work.
That was the kind of work that I was really hoping he'd bring to the side, that he was showing with the Roosters, at least maybe back end of last year and 2016. But there was a period last year that he sort of dropped off, and I thought, have we bought him right when his sort of use-by dates come up? But I'm really glad he's playing with that kind of... you don't make 43 tackles and run over 100 metres for a team that you don't give a shit about, or you're there for a paycheck. So, but yeah, no, I think it's good.
That's it. He's going through a bit of a renaissance. And I mean, we've got our obligatory hats off to the Pong. 156 metres, 5 tackle busts and offload. Again, looking dangerous every time he gets the ball. Penrith did seem to have his number, but then that allowed space elsewhere on the field.
Yeah.
So there's some sack work we're going to discuss later about how do you solve a problem like the Ponga? The great song from Sound of Music. How do you solve a problem like the Ponga? But yeah, he was great as well.
he was fantastic, but he always is, and everyone's expectation of him has risen. But it's good to see him get back over the line as well, because despite him doing all this great work off the with his passing and kicking and everything else game, setting up the tries, he showed that again. What I thought he was going to be really good for is being a good finisher, and he managed to get back over the paint again. That's
it. That's one thing that people haven't really discussed since he came to the club. He's done everything else really well, but no one's talked about his support play. But, supporting Brock Lamb for that try it's what all good fullbacks should do.
Yeah.
And he does it very well. It just hasn't led to many tries. So that was good to see.
My hat's back on, even though, it's a tough one because he had a bit of a rocks and diamonds game. But as far as the pinnacle moment to let it go, it was Connor Watson. Like, he was in everything. He was in everything. He was like, as Brownie said a couple of weeks ago, he was like a jack in the box, you know what I mean? Like, he's just got so much energy. Him and Brock Lamb both got told, obviously, just run it, just go it and back yourselves, which was good to see. But obviously the pinnacle moment of making the break and the final pass, throwing it on the deck, leading to a try, that's the 12-point turnaround which we suffered at Souths again. And if you had to have a moment accompanying with getting down there and possibly scoring under the post with Big Dan Safedi, who had another phenomenal game. 155
he
metres.
He did 150 metres off the bench, 54 of them post contact, 25 tackles.
Yeah,
in 38 minutes, I think.
If hindsight's a beautiful thing when you're in a garage, but obviously being out there, grabbing the marker, you know what I mean? Like, you just can't touch the markers. It's if the marker had come forward and what was happening in the ruck, we could have got a penalty then, and things could have been a very different game again. But just with that and throwing like two key errors in a moment where, in that second 20 when we really had a lot of the ascendancy, it could possibly have cost us the game. And
well, that's it. Those two players, you had in the press conference, Brownie mentioned Watson's two mistakes. Daniel Safidi also made two mistakes coming out of our own end.
Yeah.
If you take out those two mistakes apiece, both of those players come into contention for our very own hats off. And maybe, what's considered a great game. So it's just those little things that are stopping the Knights players from having great games. My hat's off. I hate to say it because we love him here at the show. It's got to go to Josh King. He just didn't have much impact.
Your hat's back on.
My hat's back on. Sorry to Josh King. He played the opening 20 where I think we only had 30% of the ball, but, only ran for 49 metres. He had a missed tackle. Just brought very little impact.
Didn't start the game well, and copped a lot of criticism for it. Was around those sort of defensive errors that, led to those first couple of tries. But yeah, he didn't, he was giving a starting spot, which I think, going from reserve grade to giving a starting spot in first grade, that's a huge jump. You'd think, especially with a prop, you'd come onto the bench and maybe play a few more minutes, but he just didn't obviously click into gear. I thought he had a better second half than he did at first, but what can you say? Young player coming from reserve grade, coming up against the likes of Keegan Ramble Gillard. Sorry, guys, it's the cold. But it's Randall Keegan Randall.
It's RCG.
Campbell Gillard. I'm just gonna
Regan Campbell Gillard.
Regan Campbell Gillard. Coming up against the likes of him, he's going to be.
Anyone else you want to talk about? James Fisher Harris, Corey Harawira-Naira.
I can't touch any of the hype.
Dallin Watene-Zalesniak.
No.
Anyone? No.
None of them. I can't do any of them today. Struggle enough with Nathan Ross. That's where my voice is at, and my mind. But no, he didn't start the game well and didn't finish well. I had to say, Brock Lamb coming back into the side, also starting halfback after being dropped the week before, was running the game, running literally with the line a lot. Obviously, I think he had 7 or 8 runs, which is quite high for him compared to when he was with Pearce. And if that ball from Connor Watson finds Brock Lamb's hands, I reckon he goes under the post. So he makes a break, sets up a try for Ponga, and then scores one himself. Suddenly, everyone's back on the Lamb train, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. What about the lamb and gravy train?
That's very good.
That is good. Thank you.
It's a little too good. That I can't better it. So we're gonna have a quick break and we'll be right back, Justice.
Nag, you did a great first.
We're here at a freezing cold Marathon Stadium, not getting the result we wanted, but we have a jouster here. Carlo, what are your thoughts about the game?
What the fuck does it take to get a properly refereed fucking match in Newcastle? Honest to God, Penrith spent the whole fucking night laying down in the ruck. The guys were offside every fucking time we played the ball. By the time we finally got a chance to attack, we were out of energy. Blow the fucking whistle! It's starting to get absolutely beyond me.
It was a really, we definitely didn't get the run, the run of the green. And, like, it was like they were laying all over us constantly, and
Who is that ref? Honest to God, who is that ref? He was atrocious. He was absolutely and utterly atrocious.
It's some bald bloke. I'm not sure who he was, but he wasn't very good at his job. I got to say it was a very disappointing game as far as I thought we'd play better. I thought when we had the ball in our hands, we played better. Would you agree?
I thought we looked really good actually when we did have the ball in our hands. Kalen Ponga is still a gun. Lockie had a good game. I actually didn't think we got the ball down on that last play at the end there. They were showing the replay, and we're like, he didn't get that ball down. There was no way he's got that down on the ground. And right when he's about to place it, they cut it off. And I reckon they knew all money. Anyway, I'll take the points. We needed something to go our way tonight.
Yeah, it's good. A good friend of the show, Nathan Ross, getting a try there at the end, but obviously wasn't enough. Thank you, Carlo. We'll talk to you again soon.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a sad day. Feels like we're here at the foot of the mountains. It's fucking freezing, as Nagy alluded to earlier. Ricky, mate, you've just been out of the game. What the hell happened, Ricky?
Oh, I don't know, mate. Pretty disappointing. It's just, pretty gutted. I don't have much to say. I just want to get home and go to bed because it's pretty bloody cold, and the refs just didn't make that an enjoyable game for me, to be honest. So.
They rarely do, mate. They rarely make an enjoyable game, but tonight was particularly stinging.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. It's a long walk home.
That's all right, mate. Long walk home, hopefully with a few beers at the end of it for you, mate.
It sounds all right to me.
Beauty. Thank you, Ricky. Cheers, mate.
See you, mate.
All right, guys. We've got a bit of a mixed crew here. Big Panther, couple of little Knights. Who's happy, who's sad?
I was sad because it's sad.
I bet Dad's happy.
Up the Panthers! Winner, chicken dinner!
Hey, it's a good win by your boys. They're starting to hit some form, mate. They have a pretty good season up there at the foot of the hills.
I think the only thing is we were just slow at the mark all the time. Hopefully they can get better as the year goes on. But I think the Knights have got a lot to build on.
That's it. There's a lot to learn, a lot to take on from it. But mate, Nathan Cleary apparently back next week. You must be pretty keen for that.
Oh, mate, State of Origin, I think, is beckoning in. And I think some of the Knights players are really hitting their form too, Connor Watson had a great game tonight.
That's it, mate. Blues perspective. Can't wait for Cleary to be back. Now, fellas, what do you reckon? What went wrong tonight?
Too many penalties.
Too many penalties. Agreed. How about you, champion?
I don't really know.
That's all right, mate.
Wait, when he done that pass, he should have, hold on to the ball as hard as he could, and then the other person took the ball out of his hands.
Mate, we at the Joust absolutely agree with you. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of the night. Cheers.
I'm here with Jacob and Jake. I can't remember which one's which. You're Jacob.
I'm Jacob.
And you're Jake.
Yeah.
And you're Jake. Yeah. What thoughts of the game, Jacob?
Oh, a little bit disappointing not to get the win, but good effort from the boys, I reckon, in a shitty cold night.
You thought it's freezing out here, by the way. It's got to be about -4. Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the boys should have done a lot better with the defence at the end. But it was good. It was all right. A bit cold.
Good hit out for the boys.
It was definitely obviously conceding 29 points. But I thought personally that we had. When we had the ball in our hands, we were the better side. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We parked them down in their end for the whole game. We had heaps of possession. It was good. Good from the boys.
Jake, what do you think about the refs?
Oh, yeah. Seemed a bit biased during the end there. Everything seemed to go to the Panthers' way. But, you can't control the refs.
Yeah, in the end, you got to play the better game, and it was. But you got to say, Jacob, did they get the rub of the green, the Panthers?
Oh, yeah, probably.
But you're both nice fans. You got to come back next week, not deterred by the loss.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, we'll be back. Back for sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic, boys. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Cheers, mate.
Have a good night.
I'm here with Terry. Terry, what are your thoughts on the game? Obviously, we're coming out now 18 points to 29.
Mate, really get a ref who can run the show. Honestly, mate, that was a bit of a joke. Get Gus Gould. He said the other week, give him 12 months with him, he'll fix it up, let him do it. Because, mate, I ain't paying to come to another one of these games to watch them blokes in the middle record.
Yeah, it seems like the Panthers just definitely got the rub of the green. They were laying all over us in the ruck. They seem to have a lot more time in the ruck. When we had the ball, it wasn't the same deal. Would you agree?
Oh, totally, mate, totally. And I could probably throw a bit more in there, but I won't. I think you covered it very well, champion.
we can bleep it. You can say it.
No, mate, no, it's all good, mate. But it's got to be fair, mate. It's got to be fair.
Who was your who was the player of the night you thought did particularly well tonight, despite the conditions?
Oh, Kalen Ponga again. The forward's done very well. I don't know number 17, Daniel. I can't pronounce his last.
Saifidi?
Yeah, that's him, mate. But brilliant game. Like that kid's just getting better and better each year.
I think we were over in the middle and it was disallowed, and then we made a break, threw it on the ground, and then they came back and scored. It was a 12-point turnaround, and that cost us the lead in the end. Do you think we could have maybe turned it around from there?
Oh, mate, like we only had to score one try, I think, when we had a couple of cracks at them early in the second half. We were camped there. I think we had 3 or 4 sets, and we just needed to get over. It was 18-6 that time. I reckon if we get over then, it could have been a different ball game. But it didn't happen.
Has it deterred you from next time we're having a home game? You're still going to come down and watch?
Oh, mate, as much as I said I wouldn't, but I will, because I'm a Newcastle supporter, mate, through and through.
Good on you, Terry. Thank you very much, mate. Cheers.
Thank you.
We're here with King Joust, Daniel Turner. How are you going, Daniel?
Oh, great. Disappointed about the result, but yeah, cold.
It's a freezing night here. It's about 4 below. But obviously, 18-29, I think it came in the end. What are your thoughts about the game? What do you think where do we lose it?
I think we lost it. We weren't coming up in defence quick enough. And, I think that momentum swing where we bombed that try, I think it was Connor Watson who threw the bad pass, and it was about a 12-point turnaround. I think, a bit like Kenny said last week, that was a turning point, I think.
Just a few key moments of the game. How do you feel about the rest of the season? Do you think that, are we struggling without Pearce, or do you think we can still turn it around?
Oh, we can still turn around. Pearce is only one player, a big loss, but yeah, we can still turn around, of course. We've got Ponga, Fitzy, Rostog. Loved your interview last week. So yeah, I think we can still turn around, but it's going to be a battle, I think.
Thank you, Daniel, for your time. It's a great chatting to you. Thank you, mate. Cheers.
All right, we got young Isaiah here, mate. What the fuck happened tonight, brother? What happened?
I guess it's just the defence, really. Could have got a couple of tries there if they didn't, if they moved up in their defence properly, and yeah.
Happens, eh, mate? It's good to see like that gentleman there. Yourself, mate, we're still fans, still here, eh?
Yeah,
best fans in the comp, don't you reckon?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. We should be able to turn it around. Hopefully, get a couple of good games in. Yeah.
Absolutely, mate. What do you tip for next week?
Oh, so I haven't really had a look at it, but
neither have we.
No. I don't know just yet. I might have a look at it then see.
1 week at a time, baby. Thank you, Isaiah. Good to chat to you, man. Cheers.
This is Terry. Joust is in a very special sort of outfit. You want to give us a spin there, Terry?
Mate, plenty.
Look at this. Sensational. What's that? Super Pong #1 fan. Very, very good. Could it be better? What was your name, sorry, mate, as well?
Dean, mate.
Dean. You're a Ponga fan?
The one and only, mate. Give him the town, give him the lighthouse, give him everything. Let's keep him.
Thank you very much, Terry. Thank you. I really appreciate it. But so what were your thoughts on the games tonight?
Too many penalties, too many errors. Basically, if you're going to give away the ball, you can't win.
That's fair enough. How was it? Obviously, it's a cold night tonight. Were you nice and cosy up there with the dressing gown?
I was, mate. I was. Although the kids didn't want me to wear it, that one over there. But of course, as soon as the wind came out, they said, "Can we borrow it?" So we come from Sydney. I threatened to wear it, and they went, "You won't wear it." And I went, "So of course."
Oh, you got to go in strong, and I really like the enthusiasm with the dressing gown because it is the most appropriate wear for this kind of weather.
A few lads saw it and just went, "Oh, what a great idea!" So I don't know if I'll start a trend, but if there's a trend to be had, do it.
Terry for dressing gowns, guys. Hashtag. Does the loss tonight deter you from coming back next week?
No, never, mate. Born and bred here.
Beautiful. That's what we love to hear at the Joust. Thank you very much, Terry.
Thanks very much.
And we're back.
Do you want to take us back in?
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. Now, Nagy, if our listeners want to look their absolute best at the Commonwealth Hotel watching their favourite sporting event...
Well, at the premier sort of venue of all sporting events in Newcastle.
Oh, best place in town. Don't forget to tickle that subscribe button right there. That one right there. Right on your YouTube channel. And you will go in the draw to win this beautiful, gorgeous, delightful Henny Penny retro jersey. You won't have to eat the Henny Penny. Just get on down to the commie. Moorish Mondays, 3 courses. Way better than Henny Penny.
Yeah. And you'll look your absolute best.
You'll look gorgeous.
Well, that would be... how many more weeks we got? We've got 2 more weeks left for that competition. So please get in quickly. Just go and click subscribe on YouTube.
2 more weeks for YouTube, and then it all crashes down around us.
We'll announce you live on the show. Now, Liam, we got next week. We got the Titans.
We do have the Titans. Now, the Titans are an interesting prospect. They're terrible, but somehow they're sometimes not terrible.
They're sometimes
it's very confusing.
They're the worst teams to come up against. They're sometimes good. We're being a bit of a sometimes good side this year as well.
We are. We're one of those sometimes good, but not most, but also sometimes bad teams.
Yeah, half and
Wouldn't
half.
it be nice to be just an always good team?
Yeah, because you like even when you lose, you're like, we'll win again next week.
Do you reckon it'd get boring?
Well, look at the Roosters. They are often winners over the, they always have bad years now and then. But then fans just easy. They just go, I'm just not watching footy this year. They turn it off, and then they tune in next year and they go, oh, we're winning again. And
That must be nice.
It must be a nice feeling.
So you're saying being bad is actually good for a team's membership?
Yeah, or you
and
can't
viewership figures.
Although Roosters don't win many grand finals, really.
No.
They can get to them fine. They just can't win
They
them.
just can't win them. But anyway, speaking of teams who can't even make grand finals, the Titans next
Titans.
week. Now, as usual, our stats, of course, brought to us by the Hebrew Hammer. That was way off. Josh Spiegelman, we've lost 3 out of our 4 games against the Titans in recent years.
Yeah.
Now, a few of those, to be fair, we were playing Brendan Elliott at fullback and Jalen Feeney in the spine, so not the best team the Knights have ever put out, but that's not a good and actually, given the games we've probably lost 3 out of 4 of our last games against almost all the teams.
All the teams, yeah.
So, good stat, but you could probably say that about most teams. Now, the Titans, they've actually got a decent forward pack. They've kind of quietly put together a all-right forward pack when most of them aren't injured. They're averaging 35.33.
I think you can't read your own handwriting, can you? Because it's dog shit. But I think we've got them at a good time. I think obviously Kevin Proctor, which we'll touch on this later, got his what's it?
He got his bone wished.
Yeah, didn't he ever? Who's the guy that used to play for us? I can't think. Sorry.
Brendan Elliott.
No, the other one. They signed another one. The one that we didn't like.
Jack Stockwell.
Got
knocked out cold, the poor guy.
that was one of the worst knockouts I've ever seen.
It was terrible. Actually, the stat I was looking at is actually referring to them being a bad forward pack. Now, the Titans averaged 35.33 missed tackles to our 31.6.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of defensive errors there to exploit. I just feel like, I don't know, the forwards need to bounce back, give a really strong effort and exploit that. Exploit their defensive weaknesses. They only complete at an average of 75% to our 78%, which, again, there's errors in there, errors which we can force all through defense. I think this game needs to be a game that we build on the back of defense. Our defense over the last few weeks, while we've made the tackles, we haven't really used our defense to put a stamp on the game. I think this is a game where we really need to step up and use our defense as a weapon instead of just using it as a "we'll stop you" type thing. You know? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, sort of. The one good thing about going up there is that they're not much of a fortress up there. It's not really one of those grounds that you sort of shiver with fear. It's not like I don't know, even at Brookvale we won this year. Suncorp's got that real daunting feeling. It's not a Suncorp, is it? I haven't really had a good look.
No. Maybe? I don't know. I don't think so.
At that Gold Coast Stadium, which is a bit of a vanilla stadium, really.
It's very vanilla.
Well, it sort of looks like a paddle pop, like a rainbow paddle pop. Just with these streaks of yellow going through the blue.
There's always you know what? No, I've changed my mind. My favourite flavour of paddle pop was banana.
Yeah?
I loved banana paddle pops.
Yeah, remember they used to be like 65 cents? Those were the
That was
days.
amazing, yeah. I will see that even that was too expensive for us. We used to get the icy poles back when they were 50 cents.
Yeah, Calippos.
Yeah, fucking inflation. Thanks, Tony Abbott. Now they average one area where they do excel is in their post-contact meters. Their forwards they really fight to get through to the play the ball. They're averaging 445.9 post-contact meters to our 428.6, and they average 10.3 offloads a game to our 5.2. So there are a few danger areas the Knights really need to focus on.
Where do the Knights need to improve from their side? So we know what we're coming up against. Who needs to pick it up from our team, Liam?
I think the forwards, again, as I just said, I think our starting props really need to open the game firing. They really need to use that opening 20 minutes to get the Titans on the back foot, really run them off the ball. And yeah, it just seems it's through the middle where we need to improve the most. We weren't making much headway through the middle against Penrith. The week before against Souths, we didn't seem to be either, which it's something that our forwards have done reasonably well to start the season. We just need to get that movement going back through the forwards again, through the middle.
Are we a big man short? Do we bring back the other Safidi, Jay Safidi?
I think we're a big man short, Nagy. I think we need to bring back the other Safidi.
Do you maybe even start the Safidis?
I don't think you can drop Herman. Herman's been
true.
playing well, and ideally you'd say, well, we'd move Herman to lock. But the back row's been playing as well also. So I think you have Dan Safidi starting, Jacob Safidi to the bench.
Yeah.
Maybe Josh King needs a bit more time in reserve grade, but dropping a young player like that after one game,
It's hard.
it's tough. It's a toughie. But I think we need a real big man's game against the Titans.
Do we go in the same half pairing?
I think we keep the halves pairing. For me, we keep the halves pairing. Just until Pearce gets back, stick with Watson and Brock Lamb.
Yeah.
Stick with them. Because we saw, Cogger and Watson worked okay together.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like Watson and Lamb have been any worse.
Yeah.
They haven't been, far from terrible.
Yeah, no, like in the end, like Watson's got a good running game, and instinctually he's a good ball runner, and Lamb is a good kicker. Like, and is a good kicker compared to who? Compared to Watson and compared to Jack Cogger.
Which is what we need. You can't have two halves who can't really kick.
Yeah, no, that's right.
That's
So-
a damn shame. But there's a few men we need to target, Nagy.
Who are we
Former
targeting?
knight Brendan Elliott.
Mhm.
He misses 3.5 tackles per game. Bryce Cartwright misses 3.44.
He's an
And
enemy.
Ryan James, funnily enough, misses 3.88 tackles per game. Now,
But
Brennan's kind of experimented with playing Ryan James on the edge, where he's not quite as effective as he is in the front row in the middle.
Right.
So there's something weird going on at the Titans where Garth Brennan's just throwing players a jersey,
Yeah.
and whichever one he pulls out of the pile is what they get. It's very strange.
Well, it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting game. Score prediction, Liam?
Score prediction, I'm thinking... Look, the Titans are terrible, but it's going to be close. 18-14 Newcastle Knights.
24-20 Newcastle Knights.
Also a close one, Nagy.
yeah.
Remind us, what was your score prediction you made to a good friend of the show before the game?
For the Penrith game, I said I thought it was going to be 30 points to 12. And when it was 29-12 with moments to go, I hate being one of those guys. Well, I said the score, but anyway, it was so.
I thought you said it was 30 points to 18.
No,
Oh.
I thought it was 30-12, but it was 29-12 with a few minutes to go.
Oh, well, not as close as I thought you were.
No.
But that's quite all right. Now, do you have the time, Nagy?
I do have the time, Liam. I think it might be time for the news. I don't know what the news is.
I found the news.
Yeah, no, Liam, it was an interesting week of news. This is going to be a blooper reel, this whole episode.
But that's always the best part of any show.
This is like
the
when
blooper reel.
you know when sometimes you see the pilot of the show, but they've filtered it in later, like episode 3. This is
This
what's
is the
happened.
pilot.
This is the pilot. No one
This
would
is
know.
day one for the Joust. You're witnessing a brand new podcast. Brand new time.
What happened in the news this week, Liam?
Now, in the news, first thing in the news, because it's night focus, Daniel Levi went to Nathan Brown, requests a release. Release is denied, and then is put into first grade. Mind games, Nagy?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thing that happened, obviously, because you can totally understand why Daniel Levi would go and say, like, I was playing for my country a few months ago. I started the season out of the team. We're coming up to round 10 plus. Like, we're going around. I'm still not getting a sniff. You don't want to devalue yourself by playing a whole season in reserve grade. Look what happened to Mitch Rain. Like, he's back in first grade now, but he took the hard road back there. Not getting a run anywhere at Penrith, and luckily getting a break with Garth Brennan. But are you that player that once played for New Zealand in a couple of years, or he's a young kid that obviously doesn't want to spend the remainder of his contract. He's contracted up to 2020 at Newcastle, and obviously doesn't want to spend too much time in reserve grade.
Well, and you're right. It's completely understandable. Not only did he play for New Zealand, he's played the majority of the games over the last 2 seasons through the tough times. So all of a sudden, being dropped down the pecking order a wee bit, you can understand that he's, well, dare we say, a bit miffed. Pardon the language, but he might be a bit cheesed off.
Well, this time last year, by I think it was around 6 or 7 last year, he was one of the first people to be re-signed by the team, by the coach, and that obviously showed a lot of faith. And he's probably thinking, "What have I done? What have I done wrong?" To possibly be excluded from the side for the remainder of the season. And I think the games that he has played for us, he's had moments of real excitement.
Yeah, I thought he was good against Penrith. He changed the tempo around the ruck. He started sniping in behind the markers. I thought he was good off the bench. I'm glad that his request has been denied, because I'd love to see him around the club to see out his contract. And I think, he's only in line to play more minutes.
It's going to be interesting to see whether he gets named on Tuesday, which is tomorrow for us. When you're watching this, it'll be yesterday. I know, it's like time travel.
Amazing.
What's the future like? But it's going to be interesting to see if they include him in that side, and if he does, does that show him more power? Does he threaten to leave again? Do more players threaten to leave if they're not part of that first grade picture?
It all feels very Wall Street naggy.
Yes.
Lots of conniving and dirty deals.
Just like that movie.
Yes.
Inception.
Yes, Inception. Conniving and dirty deals galore.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda. Kenneth Edwards, noted Parramatta bad boy, has been... What did he... He got arrested for driving with his license suspended.
Sure.
Because he got... I think the police were driving past, looked up his license plate, saw that he had a suspended license, and he ran away. He parked the car and ran away from them.
Sprinted away from them.
He sprinted away, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, they said he was sprint training.
Sprint training.
But it's like, rugby league players can't win. He pulls his car over, runs away from the cops, he gets in trouble. Josh Papali drinks drive, calls the cops on himself, he gets in trouble.
Yeah.
How does a rugby league player break the law on the road and not get in trouble? What do they have to do?
They have to go back to the bus, I think.
They have to get back to the bus.
That's the reason they take the bus to and from games, because there's too many variables if they're all driving there.
There's so many variables. Isn't it insane?
They'll rock up and they'll say, where is everyone? They say they've all been arrested. None of them made it here. That's why they have the team
That's
bus.
it. Sid Foggs has made a killing off it over the decades.
They're paying the cops to look out for the players.
But I think you got to think that's one more nail in the coffin of Parramatta season, and you got to think Kenny Edwards is going to get let go. He's been let go from 2 clubs already due to behavioural incidents, I think we call them.
Well, he's out of the car. He's probably on a plane and already looking at Super League contracts. So that's probably the only place that's going to sign him, because I think the NRL probably washed their hands of him.
Into retirement.
Well, he's just not that talented. You know what I mean? The problem is that if he was a superstar, this would probably be his second last chance. But because he's just not quite there, then he's
just let him go.
Just let him, put him out to pasture.
Now, our final piece of news probably wouldn't make news if it was any other player, but I think we've got some video of it. Elliot, can we bring up the Cameron Smith tackle?
Yeah.
The wishbone tackle. Now, Cameron Smith seems to be finally being exposed for the grub that he is.
Yeah. Look, you watch it at full speed, and it's... You can blink and miss it, but when you notice he's got a leg, the other players are pinning him on the ground, slow motion, you see it, and just to reef up and away, you're stretching that groin in about 3 different places. He comes out and says, I didn't want to hurt him. But that's no excuse in a tackle. You can come out. I could knock your head clean off your shoulders, which I will, by the way. And then I say I didn't mean to hurt him. That's not a defence for why.
No, it's no defence. If you go into court and you say, "Look, yes, I tried to rob him, but I didn't succeed in robbing," and they don't say, "Well, off you go. Enjoy the rest of your day."
It's the thing.
Do they? I've never been to court.
In the end, that's manipulating a joint away from where it should go. And like you see it in the chicken wing, you see it in the cannonball tackle. You see you're trying to disable these players in what you could interpret as an unlawful way as far as the game, and he ends up missing the rest of that game in a time where it was pretty still in the balance.
Funnily enough, we bring up all these other techniques that have been outlawed, all pioneered by Melbourne.
Well, that's it. They're working out other areas to grapple. They couldn't grapple the neck. They go, fine, we're going to grapple the leg.
And I think once he got punched in the nuts last week, he said, all right, well, the groins, I didn't get in, Jeremy Lattimore didn't get in trouble, so the groin's fine. It's fair play.
The groin's fair play for the grapple.
Now, I will play devil's advocate. You'll notice as the leg is reefed, the other leg is being taken out by another player. So the other player came on late after he tried to reef. Maybe if the other player doesn't grab hold, he just pulls the leg up. It's a classic, lift the leg, he falls over. Well, I still think it's a dick move.
It's because of the injury. I think, he's already been charged, and I think he's going to miss a week. He took an early guilty plea. It's, it depends on how much Proctor. If Proctor misses 6+ for that, it's something that you don't want to see. It's not a comfortable thing for any bloke to see a groin tear, anything around that area tearing.
Or a female. I'm sure if a female had a groin tear, it would be just as painful.
Just as uncomfortable, I imagine.
Just any human with a groin.
Any human or animal.
Or animal. Well, does an animal have a groin? If an animal has 4 legs, do they have 2 groins?
They got 2 groins. Not many people know that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So they got one groin up behind their neck.
Yeah.
Imagine if you...
It's a neck into groin.
Well, I guess you could call your collarbones a shoulder groin.
A shoulder groin.
I broke my shoulder groin a few years ago. It really hurt.
Pierce doing his tit really did his shoulder groin. Now, again, we're no doctors. And
we cannot stress that enough.
And I'm sorry if you've got that impression from us thus far, but he's definitely Pierce. Hopefully he'll come back soon from his shoulder groin. Was there anything else there?
No, look, that's all for the news this week. Fairly quiet week in the news.
Which is always good, considering there's no Knights players in the news, and there was nothing, unlawful.
There was Danny Levi. He was in the
that's
news.
true. Yeah,
different section of the news.
Different
though.
section. There
wasn't in the gossip column.
Now, Liam, I think it's about time to open that sack of yours.
There you go. Sorry, just playing around with my lower groin. Now, good sack questions this week, guys. Obviously, we can't get to all of them, but thank you for your input. We'll get to as many as we can. Now, Joe Duffy asked a multimedia question. Now, Elliot, could you please bring up the tweet in question? Now, Joe asks, what do you think about Willie Mason's comment that Brock Lamb would struggle to make reserve grade at other clubs? Is it a fair call, or is it a bit harsh, noting what Willie has said here on the screen? How can a player like Todd Carney be sitting in limbo with no club? Blah, 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 blah. Knights, blah, 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 blah. Lamb reserve grade, something, something. He meant Lamb, but said Cogger.
Yeah. He's
what do you think about Big Willie's style here?
He's an idiot. He's just a fool. He's got half a piano of ivory behind his lips, and he's sprouting all this nonsense. Have you seen his teeth? We'll put up a photo of his teeth in post. If you haven't seen it, it's an absolute joke.
So I reckon Willie's teeth gets this week 3.5 frowning brownies.
Which is huge.
It's a lot of frowning brownies.
It's a lot of frowning brownies, especially for teeth for this particular job. Looks like he's got the lolly teeth stuffed up there. So anyway,
they're always the worst lollies to get in the next bag. Too.
Look, he's going to be making more of these comments, and obviously he wants a bit of a life after the game, and I think he wants to be a bit of a comment, like a social commentator on these things. And look, his comments are fair enough. Like Lamb did play a game in Reggie's for the Knights. He's back there, and he had a solid game. And last week, it'd be silly to say that he's going to see more Reggie's time, but to say that, for the argument that you need to bring Carney in just for a set period, and then hopefully that blossom. If we brought Carney in tomorrow, then he has to work two combinations, one with the current Haas Pierce and one with Watson, and then he you either work another one when Pierce comes back, or then you drop Carney again. I think everyone remembers Carney as 2014 Carney. That was when he got dropped from Brisbane, wasn't it? There was dropped from Cronulla after that Brisbane game. The Bubs. The
Bubs. I think it was 2014. Yeah. Which for our viewers, that's 4 seasons ago.
4 seasons ago.
4 years.
I saw a bit of him play in Super League, but he's mainly the thing for when he was playing for the Catalan Dragons was his injury record. He wasn't playing consistent football, and the last thing we need now is to introduce a half to build a game around, and then see him out 2 and 3 times. So. And
speaking of halves that should be in reserve grade, he did play reserve grade. He went to the Central Queensland Capras alongside the world's fattest man, Dave Taylor, and it was, he played like a 30-year-old half who hasn't played in the NRL for a few years.
I think he's older.
And it's just a very short-sighted, view. Pierce is out for a bit. Quick, let's scramble to sign someone. That's just throwing Nathan Brown and Darren Mooney's plan into chaos, which we've seen. It's a long-term plan. We don't make short-term decisions. A short-term decision like that is going to screw us, in a year and a half when a remarkably good prop comes on the market. We all of a sudden don't have that money that Carney's on to throw at this guy.
Yeah.
No, don't make it. Terrible opinion. I disagree wholeheartedly.
You're a goose, Willie.
Next question. Anthony Hickling. Now that other teams have worked out our game plan of give it to the Pong, what other trick plays should we run? Hickling's a fan of the old chip and chase.
Yeah, of course he is. He always yells at chip and chase. If you're with Anthony Hickling of the football, he'll yell chip and chase every day of the week. We don't give the ball to Pong because that's our trick play. You give the ball to Pong because he calls for the ball and wants it. He's just the player that wants the ball. I'm sure we didn't expect Ponga to be doing this, and we wouldn't have built a team with Mitchell Pearce around it saying Ponga is going to be our most dangerous player, because it's just instinctual to him. Sure, he has to step up, and he has been since Pearce isn't there. But I think if you watch that Penrith game, most of it is around other players, and a lot of that hard work, with through players like Mitch Barnett and Lockie Fitz, was injecting themselves in the game. So, in your answer, yes, we need no other trick plays, but no, I think they're currently happening now. Anthony Hickling, we're a different side without Mitchell Pearce. It takes the shine, it takes a lot of the positives off us, but. To think that we're a one-trick pony with Ponga, and then so before we were two-trick ponies, I think it's silly to think that we're sitting on our heels a bit without Ponga.
Well, that's it. I noticed in the game on the weekend that Penrith really committed a lot of men to getting around Ponga. They really tried to shut him down. That just opened up the other side of the field for Connor Watson. It opened up a bit of a looser ruck defence structure for Danny Levi. We've got a few weapons in place in other parts of the field that once other teams attract on Ponga, once they stick on Ponga, that's great. That's what we want. It opens up bigger holes in the defence for other players to capitalise on, especially Connor Watson with his great running game. Good question, Anthony. Thank you. Nagy, anything on that? That was a good question.
It was.
Now, another question from our dear friends over at Shouts from the Sidelines, headed by Q over there. Check him out. Give him a listen. Who do you think should be the long-term halves partner for Mitchell Pearce? Do we want Watson, Lamb, Jack Johns, or someone else?
Look, Jack Johns, from what I hear, is probably got a future in the game, not in the halves. I think because he's got that Johns name, everyone brands that number 7 clean on him and has very fond memories of times gone by. But I think Jack Johns is a bit of a sizey bloke, and is that a word? That's not a word.
Sizey, yes.
Sizey, yeah. He's a bit of a sizey bloke, and I think he's probably going to find himself probably playing a bit more of a, like a larger lock sort of a role.
A ball-playing lock,
ball-playing lock, possibly. And this is obviously just conjecture because I haven't seen too much from play.
But let's conject. I love conjecting.
Yeah, but I at the moment, look, I liked what Cogger was doing, but probably Cogger and Pearce probably have a better combination because Pearce has the kicking game. At the moment, I think you got to go. If you're going to keep Watson in that side, you put Lamb back in. But then again, if Ponga makes the Origin side and he goes, you think Connor Watson goes back to fullback, and then we've got Lamb and Cogger, who I like as a halves pairing because they complement each other and they've played lots of football together.
Agreed, Nagy. I think the long-term option is Watson because Pearce has the kicking game, Watson has the running game. Once you combine them, they only played one game together here at the Knights so far, with Watson getting injured and then Pearce getting injured. As a long-term combination, they both have the attributes to complement each other brilliantly. So yeah, Q, I think it's going to be Pearce and Watson.
Pearce and Watson long-term.
Now, last question from Zach Lachlan. It's a very short question, Zach. I was expecting something a bit longer, a bit of an essay, but Zach Lachlan asks, the commentary on Channel 9, which I have Fox, so I don't get to listen to, it's brilliant. Now, they put down the refereeing live on air with alarming regularity. Do you think fans of the game watching Channel 9 are influenced by the commentators enough that it taints their vision of the game? I absolutely agree, Zach. People listen to the game, they hear the commentators speaking ill of the referees, talking down decisions, even if it's the right call, and in their mind they have this mindset of, well, the referees have done us, the referees have done this, the referees are useless, they're hopeless, and it's all being fed to them by these people who, honestly, they should know better, personally, but also they understand the refereeing calls in a way that the average fan would not. They understand why a particular decision's been made, whereas the average fan just hears them saying, the refs are shit, let's hate them. And they take that and they run with it and they build on that. And it becomes almost an all-encompassing philosophy where no matter what happens, it comes back to the referee. And I'll admit, I was like this up until about 3 years ago. I had a really negative opinion of referees, but in the last few years, I've actually been paying a lot closer attention to the way the game's refereed, to the way the referees are spoken about by the media, and honestly, it's far blown out of proportion by the people talking about the game. And as someone whose viewpoint was skewed by commentators and media pundits and the like slagging the referees off all the time, it's alarming how easily they can do that, how easily they can put someone off and have someone railing against the referees when they should look at the reality of the game, look at the way the team's playing or whatever. It's just too easy of a target. And I think the way the media are kind of directing people unknowingly maybe and unintentionally directing people, maybe intentionally, but actually it's probably definitely intentional. But I think the way that they're leading people to blame the referees is just an easy gimmick to stir up controversy and conflict in the game, which is rubbish. It's bullshit. I hate it.
Yeah.
And I really wish that, especially during the early half of the start of the season where we saw the crackdown, the media was absolutely rabid. I watched that Panthers Knights game and I was like, that's what the game looks like once the crackdown stopped, because the media went nuts and the fans just listened to the media and went absolutely bonkers. It was rubbish. And if the crackdown had continued, we wouldn't have had a game like that. So
basically what you're saying is,
in summing up, it's the Constitution, it's Mabo, it's justice, it's law, it's the vibe, and
it's the vibe.
No, that's it.
It's the vibe. Yeah,
no, that's it.
I think you've summed it up well there, Liam. And I don't think I have much more to add, but I totally agree with you. It's it's the way it is.
It is the way it is.
That's just the way it is, and some things will never change.
Some things will never change.
Especially
things will never stay the same.
Especially if you're listening to Hadley. He's just an old character.
Take him out the back and shoot him.
Yeah.
Speaking of taking him out the back of shooting, we're going to wrap up for a week so we can do that to poor ill Nagy.
Yeah,
but don't forget, guys, we're all on all the social pipes. So catch us on Facebook, catch us on Twitter, Instagram, on YouTube now. Don't forget that little red button right there on my shoulder, and the little devil on my right shoulder. Don't forget that. But thank you again for joining us this week, Jousters. We'll see you next week.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I was worried the song wasn't going to come on, but it did.
I thought the song was broken. But we do have the song.